Is that a particular year that jersey you got on, or
This one,
yeah,
it's 2021. It's a good year. Didn't want 2020.
yeah, yeah? And you got your Sussex jersey there as well. I see.
Yeah. This is. I got one coming in the mail. I got a better one, but this is for now. This will do. It's Kimber Walker, but not my favorite guy. But yeah, is what it is.
So, sure. Thanks, Adam, for coming on the empty out the clip, man.
There's
I wanted to get you on because I know you're unlike our two brothers, Roger and Isaiah, who think they're Chiefs fans but haven't are not even from the area. You are in fact are from the area,
Yep.
so brought up in Tokoroa, part of the Chiefs catchment.
Yep.
So does that mean are you part of Waikato or Bay of Plenty?
So, yeah, as part of the Waikato, so like when I was younger, playing age grade and stuff, before you would kind of, if you were good enough to play for Waikato, before that you'd play for South Waikato. So like growing up when I was playing rep rugby, it was like South Waikato, and then the next step up from there would be Waikato. So yeah, we're just on that border, Waikato Bay Plenty.
I wanted to ask you, man, how you feeling about your team now? Because last year was pretty hard, man. It was pretty tough to watch your team last year.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a lot of people forgot what happened pre-COVID. We just got Aaron Cruden to come back. We'd actually beaten the Crusaders to start the season when it was regular season. The Chiefs they were hitting their strides to be a top team. They had fronted up physically against the Crusaders before everything hit with COVID and went into lockdown, and then just obviously from there was terrible luck. Couldn't win a game. Obviously started this year pretty bad as well, so went to equaling, or did they better the longest losing streak in
Yeah,
history?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I remembered last year, and it looked like they weren't getting beat by teams. They were just losing by a couple of points, a few points here and there. I mean, they were always in it. I remember they were always in those games. Well, I'm talking about the Super Rugby Aotearoa because you guys never won a game when when it switched over. But it just showed how tough the competition was, And for me, knowing that it was a tough competition, thinking, man, we're way ahead of South Africa and Australia. It looks like because the games were quality games, and they said they were like test match games, and that's what it was. There's a small margin of error. If you're behind the eight ball, you're gonna lose the game, even though you could beat probably because I thought that the Chiefs could beat any team in Australia. Still,
yeah, I mean, and as you said, it was like it was such a tough competition. You just got the five New Zealand teams, and yeah, literally some reason they always they did lose, but it was always like, oh, there was one crazy call that went against them, and like they always lost like just by the end. And you could say it's similar to Hurricanes this year. They're not getting smoked by everyone. It's they just seem to be a few things don't click, and unfortunately in this competition, it's like a few things don't click in one game, and it really puts you at the bottom.
yeah. Well, with the Hurricanes this year, you can sort of tell because they're missing key players in those key positions. TJ Pernara's gone. Obviously, they've got a first five. They got that young guy. I love. I think his last name is 19-year-old.
Mm,
So and Adi Sevilla is injured now. So yeah, they're probably on paper probably the least strongest team in between the five franchises. But coming into the Chiefs last year, on paper they still had the goods. Just losing those games by those narrow margins just is unlucky that they lost that 11 in a row. I think it was. Well, was it 11 in a row or 12 in a row or something?
yeah, it was either 11 or 12 in a row, but yeah, I think a few key players last year, whether they were still finding their feet with injuries, people like who are really standing up this season, like Damian McKenzie, Anton Ennett Brown, like those guys this year, they just seem to have built that resiliency. And yeah, I mean, last year they had Getz as coach. You'd think it was a no brainer that they should have been able to perform better than they did. But yeah, I think some of those guys are just coming into their own this year and being a little bit more. vocal in terms of being leaders, even Brad Weber as well. I mean, they lost Sam Kane now, but you got people like Boshier stepping in, and they got Koro Liam Messam coming back. So they're not short of quality players. So yeah, something just seems to be clicking this season, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, it's funny because I just mentioned before on the previous my previous guest before I came on to you was the reason why Liam misses him there to give someone a rest, save them for the finals. Since this game against the Blues is a dead rubber. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blues waste you guys by 20 points because I know you guys gonna bring out a B team, gonna rest your guys for the Crusaders or keep that momentum. So if you're the coach, what would you be doing? Put on a B team or keep that momentum? Because you don't want you don't want Damian McKenzie to get injured against the Blues.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's even though on the table it's a dead rubber. I don't think you can ever really say the Battle of the Bombays is a dead rubber. There's always a heated rivalry. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs put out mostly a top line team, maybe rest a couple of key players, but um, be even surprised if they put DMAC back at 10. I thought when he played 10 against the Crusaders, he was just a different player. Hadn't seen him play like that for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah. Now they're gonna call up Beaver. He's gonna come back and jump in that 10 spot. But yeah, you're right. When they
The winning.
moved, yeah, you're right. When they moved DMAC to 10, and he was the man, eh?
Hmm.
Just thinking about that, this Super Rugby sort of showed us the battle of the fullbacks, right? Or the battle of the utilities. So I'm talking about Jordy Barrett and Damian McKenzie. Now, if you were Foster and All Blacks, who would you put at fullback for the All Blacks?
Well, obviously you probably got those guys as established front runners, but then you got someone with a spark like Will Jordan. Like
Mm,
the back three right now for the All Blacks, I think it's an envious position to be in, where they got some top talent, people who have come back from injury. So I mean, you've got Clark for the Blues. You've got Severis or George Bridge, potentially Shewins, and then yeah, you've got George. You've got Will Jordan. You've got DMAC, and then you've got Barrett. It's tough, and then you get Bodie back in the mix. Do any of them actually put pressure on Moanga? That's the question. So it's tough.
yeah, you mentioned Will Jordan, and he is the danger man. But I feel like Jordy Barrett and D Mac sort of have their kicking game sort
Yep.
of brings them to the forefront
Mm.
ahead of Will Jordan.
Yep.
I think the last couple of games, especially with the Chiefs, especially with D Mac, he showed his defense. Because I think there was that game, I don't know if it was the Blues or Hurricanes, but man, he was tackling everybody, and he had a couple of try savers tackles in the corner. So man, his defense is pretty good. It's pretty mean. Sort of reminds you of RTS over there at the New Zealand Warriors. But
Soon to be blues. Soon to be blues.
soon to be Blues. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, man, it's gonna be an interesting final, Crusaders and Chiefs. I just wanted to ask you your prediction for that game. Because I reckon the Chiefs got a good chance of beating the Crusaders, because throughout the year they've shown to be real unpredictable. I mean, they've won those close games, and it's sort of like the teams going against the Chiefs because they're so unpredictable. Teams that probably haven't sorted them out yet. It feels like, and so I think that will be the case when they come up against the Crusaders in the final. That the Crusaders will probably have to second guess themselves all the time because after that win against the Blues, that depressing game, like the Crusaders had the Blues number.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a shocking game. We didn't even score a try. I think that it will be different against the Chiefs because I don't think they really know how to play the Chiefs. Really, I don't think they have a game plan.
Yeah. I think the see like the a lot of the players in the Chiefs sword pack. I think I think they're very unpredictable or understated. Like, the locks, they got Tupu Va'i and Akoi. Like, that turnover that he had in the final against, it was the Crusaders, Akoi. Like, you know, they had to just try and make up. Barrett had to do that appeal, and he knew he just didn't have a shot. But, some of the standouts for me, Jacobson at 8, like, he's a workhorse. And then you got Sawakula as well. Like, those are two different guys at 8. So, I think it's hard for the Crusaders to kind of plan for those different type of players, but the Chiefs forwards just seem to have a bit of mongrel in them this year, and they're not shying away from the physical stuff, which is kind of making it hard for teams to predict, certain passages or areas of the play where they think they might typically dominate the Chiefs, especially in the set piece. They're holding their own.
And I guess playing over there in Crusader Land will be a big factor too for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That was a good win they had against the Hurricanes over there in the Cape Town, winning by that 1 point, 2 points or 1 point, that kick. And I think it makes up for a pretty good final, it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a full string Crusaders team, I'll remain optimistic, but full string Crusaders team, I'll say Chiefs by 3.
Ooh, by 3.
Or maybe 2. That's like behind by 1, and then D-Mac has the kick to seal it, the penalty from 48 meters out.
Oh, that'll be the dream. That'll be the dream. Last year, back on that losing streak, did you have ever thought? Did you have any thoughts on Warren Gatland being the coach? Whether it was his fault or he's coming back from up north, he's not used to the New Zealand environment.
Um, yeah, I'm just not sure if they just didn't, if they were just the team that didn't deal with the transition into the COVID the best, because it'll be interesting to see what happens when Gats comes back, and then if it's a repeat of what happened. But it's kind of hard to make that judgment call when he's coached against sort of New Zealand teams for so long and has had a pretty good success rate. So whether that was an issue or whether it was just the lack of adapting, it'd be good to see next year when he comes back, if the Chiefs kind of fall back into old habits.
Are you going to the Blues game this weekend?
Yeah. Might even go to the the first women's super game too. That's pretty cool. That's quite a big thing to have. So they'll be curtain raising. I think it's the Chiefs and the Blues women's teams. So might go check that out too. That's pretty cool. But you haven't been to a game for a while, so it'd be good to get out and support the boys, get amongst Eden Park.
Yeah. How do you feel about Lachlan Boucher? Because man, I thought he was sure to get the All Blacks call up last year. Obviously, he didn't, but he's one of the good ones, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I personally last year rated his work over the ball higher than Kane's, but yeah, I mean, once you saw what Kane did for the All Blacks, it's different level, But I definitely thought that he deserved a shot, and obviously it wasn't a normal year, so you couldn't do like an end of year tour thing. But in my mind, he's probably a solid season without injury away from cracking that AB squad. Because his ability over the ball at the breakdown is unreal.
In other news, TJ Perenara, I was going to spring this on you. He might be suiting up for the Sydney Roosters if he agrees to sign for them. I think it's the Sydney Roosters, but there's talk about him going to NRL. How do you think he'll go there? Because I think he'll be good. Eh? He suits league. I don't know if he played league as a youngster. He came from a league background, but he's got the. I think hooker. I think he'll be good at hooker.
Yeah, look, I don't know much about his physical durability for the physical demands of the game. I know that he definitely has the fire and the aggression for it. He's definitely a player that you'd think, oh yeah, if he was got to go to the NRL, he'd be one of them. But yeah, what's he, 29, 30? like potentially going into a new sport with such high impact at that age. Who knows? Only he knows what his body can do, and there's been reports that he's spoken to the right people, has spoken to the Kiwi hooker who's at the Storm, and probably spoken to Sonny Bill, so he's probably well aware of the physical demands. So he's a class athlete, so he obviously knows what he's getting himself into and wants a challenge. So if he does it, that'll be good. He's been as a halfback myself in my amateur days, like I've always rated him as you know top three New Zealand halfbacks of all time. So it'll be cool to see him try something else. But if it means that he's not there for the next World Cup, that'd be a shame. But if he does it, definitely good for him to give it a nudge.
Nah, yeah, it'll be interesting to see him play. I'll be keen to see him play anyway.
Mm.